Hey everybody. Now I remember at the end of my last video or 2 videos ago, I said that this month was going to be filled with a ton of Christmas themed horror content. It still will be, actually a lot more than I had initially planned, but after mapping out my schedule for the entire month, I had to move a few things around, but we will be getting into the Christmas themed videos next week because today we're going to be talking about some of the upcoming horror movies for 2025. Some have my excitement more than others, I'll just say that. It's a pretty interesting list and I can't wait to get into it with you guys, but before we do, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Gage. I upload horror related content to my channel every week, ranging from reviews, reactions, lists, rankings, all that. So if that sounds like it interests you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you just want to go that extra mile, hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any of my new videos. My channel is in the home stretch for monetization, so any and all support is greatly appreciated. With that all being said, let's get into 25 upcoming 2025 horror movies. Not gonna lie, finding exactly 25 movies for this list makes my OCD heart so happy. I structured this list chronologically, so we're gonna go ahead and start with January, obviously. Coming in at spot number 1, our first horror movie to kick off the year of 2025 is Wolfman. Wolfman is slated to be released on January 17th of 2025. It'll be released by the studio Blumhouse, and I know what you guys are thinking. Blumhouse has had quite a few interesting years, but given that this is directed by Leigh Whannell, I'm not as apprehensive as I normally would be. The cast also consists of Christopher Abbott, Matilda Firth, and Julia Garner, who was also known for that Rosemary's Baby prequel. Really excited to see her in this. But anyways, the synopsis goes, family man Blake relocates from San Francisco to Oregon with his workaholic wife Charlotte and daughter Ginger after inheriting his childhood home, which is left vacant following his estranged father's mysterious disappearance and presumed death. At the farmhouse at night during a full moon, the family is attacked by a werewolf that claws Blake's arm. They barricade themselves inside the home, but soon Blake begins to transform into something horrifying, jeopardizing the safety of his wife and daughter. To be honest, this movie's pretty intriguing to me. I'm not the biggest werewolf person, but I did really like the movie Cursed, which may seem like an unpopular opinion since I know a lot of you guys don't like that movie. But it's essentially Scream with werewolves, and I love it. It's one of my favorites from the early 2000s era. I haven't seen American Werewolf in London or that other movie, I think it's called The Wolfman. Pretty much Cursed is the only werewolf movie that I'm familiar with, so given that this is directed by Leigh Whannell, and I watched that movie Afraid that's also been released by Blumhouse and wasn't nearly as bad as people were saying, I'll be willing to give this one more of a chance than I probably would have had this come out a few months ago, just because it's directed by Leigh Whannell, who's known for directing Insidious Chapter 3, which is my favorite sequel personally. And he also directed The Invisible Man, which was really good. And I believe he also directed this movie called Upgrade. I could be wrong, that may be Christopher Landon, but I'm pretty sure it's Leigh Whannell. Regardless, he's a really good filmmaker, so I definitely have some high hopes for this one. All right, up next, spot number 2, we have Screamboat, which is slated to be released on January 24th of 2025. The film will be directed by Stephen LaMorte, and the cast consists of David Howard Thornton and Allison Piddle. Now, while details are under wraps, this movie promises to bring a unique twist to horror, with the talent behind Art the Clown on board. Obviously, this stars David Howard Thornton, so there's some hope here. The director also said that the film is the story of a late-night ferry ride in New York City where commuters and deckhands and all the usual passengers are attacked by a murderous and mischievous mouse who is mean, tiny, and loves getting up to no good. David Howard Thornton, I've never seen him in anything besides Terrifier, and I heard that he was pretty much the only saving grace of that movie, The Mean One. So even if this movie is absolute dog shit, at the very least, he'll give somewhat of an amusing and entertaining performance to keep me going through the movie. I'm still not sure how I feel about all these Disney horror reimaginings, and this is not the only one that's on this list. So we'll have more to talk about with that, but yeah, I'm not exactly gonna go out of my way to see it, basically. All right, up next, spot number 3, we have Companion, which is slated to be released on January 31st of 2025. This one will be directed by Drew Hancock, and its cast consists of Jack Quaid, Sophie Thatcher, and Megan Suri. This eerie tale supposedly explores the darker side of companionship with a stellar ensemble cast. Sophie Thatcher was great in The Boogeyman, and I liked her little bit part that she had in Maxine. And Jack Quaid, I heard, is really good in The Boys, but he was also one of the few things that I actually liked about Scream 5. This is also said to be by the same people that made Barbarian. I did not like that movie, kind of overhyped. The twist, I got the twist, and why people liked it so much, just didn't care for it. But even so, it was still a very well-made movie and looked very nice. So at the very least, we'll have a pretty movie. Those of you that like Barbarian, y'all are probably obviously gonna like this one as well. The premise that I could find on Google goes, a billionaire's death sets off a chain of events for Iris and her friends during a weekend trip to his lakeside estate. Other than that, not much else is able to be found, at least on my end. It's also coming out in January too, which January is the month that's kind of known as a dumping ground for horror, so it could go either way. I will still keep an open mind since Barbarian was at least a competently made film, but yeah, the story just wasn't my favorite. Either way, we'll just have to wait and see. All right, now coming in at spot number 4, which will be the first movie to kick off the month of February for us, we have Bambi: The Reckoning, which will be released on February 7th of 2025. It's directed by Scott Jeffrey, who is also known for the Winnie the Pooh movies. Didn't see a ton of information on cast members, but I do see that it's supposed to star someone named Nicola Wright and Samara Mighty. That's it. From what I could find online, it says that this is a slasher reimagining of the classic tale with Bambi, well, obviously, out for revenge in a gruesome forest showdown. After a mother and son get in a car wreck, they soon become hunted by Bambi, a mutated, grief-stricken deer, on a deadly rampage, seeking revenge for the death of his mother. This is also apparently the third installment in the Twisted Child universe, the TCU, as they call it, and serves as a horror retelling of Felix Salten's Bambi: A Life in the Woods. Look, I'm not excited to see this movie. I barely have any interest in the MCU. I have no interest in the childhood universe. Get it away from me. Up next, coming in at spot number 5, I'm really excited about this one. We have The Monkey, which is slated to be released on February 21st of 2025. It is directed by Osgood Perkins, who is the son of Anthony Perkins, and oh yeah, is also the dude that directed Longlegs this year. The cast is also supposed to consist of Theo James, Tatiana Maslany, and Elijah Wood, who I have still not been able to look at the same way after watching him in Maniac. Anyways, this movie is based on Stephen King's short story. Twin brothers confront a cursed toy monkey that wreaks havoc on their lives. But to get a little bit deeper into the film's plot, after stumbling upon their father's vintage toy monkey in the attic, twin brothers Hal and Bill witness a string of horrifying deaths unfolding around them. In an attempt to leave the haunting behind, the brothers discard the monkey and pursue separate paths over time. However, when the inexplicable deaths resurface, the brothers are compelled to reconcile and embark on a mission to permanently eliminate the cursed toy. Now, I really enjoyed Longlegs, and I have heard a little bit about the Stephen King short story as a teenager, so given that I have already some pre-existing interest in this story, and that I really liked Longlegs, I definitely have some higher expectations for this movie. Coming in at spot number 6, we have another Disney reimagining, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, slated to be released on February 24th of 2025. This one is also directed by Scott Jeffrey. Please, dude, keep them coming. This one is a dark reimagining of Peter Pan where Neverland is anything but a fairy tale. There isn't too much of the plot available to go off of other than the plot on Wikipedia saying that Wendy Darling goes on a quest to find her brother, Michael, who has been abducted by Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. This is the 4th installment in the Twisted Childhood universe and also serves as a horror retelling of J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan. Unless the movie's structured in a way where it's so bad it's good, I just can't see myself enjoying this one. Really did not like the Winnie the Pooh movie. I thought it was really cheap and stupid and gratuitous. Haven't seen the sequel, which I heard was better than the first movie. I'm still holding out on when I'm gonna check that one out. I have better things to do. But my curiosity is still piqued, so I will eventually check it out before I watch any of these. I'm really not into these whole Disney horror reimagining things. It's just not for me. All right, now up next, spot number 7, we have Vicious, which is slated to be released on February 28th of 2025. This one is directed by Brian Bertino, who is known for directing the original Strangers movie. The cast consists of Rachel Blanchard and Dakota Fanning. This is also the only poster that I could find of it online. And it's not even a poster, this is literally just 2 pictures of her from, I wanna say that's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And the other one's Watchers. I remember that movie. Yeah, there's no poster. I was out of options. So we're just gonna use this for visual aid. But yeah, the synopsis is basically a woman spends the night fighting for her existence as she slips down a rabbit hole contained inside a gift from a late night visitor. that's literally it. There's nothing else, and I believe there's not much information for the next movie either, but this one has even less. I'll be curious to see what other news comes out about the movie as we get closer to the release date. All right, moving on from February, our first movie to kick off the month of March is a movie called The Woman in the Yard. The director's name is right there. I'm not even gonna attempt to pronounce it. Some of the movies that he's directed in his day consist of House of Wax, The Original Orphan, and The Shallows. Details remain scarce, but the plot on Wikipedia says, "Today's the day, a woman in black appears on a family's front lawn and delivers a chilling warning. Where did she come from? What does she want? When will she leave? Nobody knows." That's it. Again, this isn't even something I found online. I literally just went into Snapchat and created this just so there's some visual aid and you're not just staring at my face the entire time. Yeah, there's not much else to go off of, but given how I really liked The Shallows, Orphan, and House of Wax, the House of Wax remake was a blast. I can definitely see myself enjoying this movie if he directs this one anything like how he directed those movies. Coming in at spot number 9, we have the movie Drop, which is slated to be released on April 11th of 2025. This one is directed by Christopher Landon, who I absolutely adore. First of all, he's a total dad. And second of all, he's responsible for movies like Freaky, Happy Death Day, Totally Killer. I love all of those movies. I think they're some of the best modern slashers, despite being PG-13 for a few of them. He has such a gift for blending those horror and comedy elements perfectly, so I'm really excited for this one. The synopsis reads, Violet, a widowed mother on her first date in years who arrives at an upscale restaurant where she is relieved that her date Henry is more charming and handsome than she expected. However, their chemistry begins to curdle as Violet begins being irritated and then terrorized by a series of anonymous drops to her phone. She's instructed to tell nobody and follow instructions, or the hooded figure that she sees on her home security cameras will kill Violet's young son and babysitting sister. Her unseen tormentor's final direction is also to kill Henry. This movie sounds like a mix of horror and thriller. Not hearing a lot of comedic elements in there, but that could change. The actual movie could be totally different. But given the way that the movie's story is explained and that it's directed by Christopher Landon, I have no doubt that this movie is definitely going to be a fun time. All right, we have now moved into the summer months. So this one is actually pretty exciting. I know that quite a few of y'all have been waiting for this movie. Coming in at spot number 10, we have 28 Years Later, which is slated to be released on June 20th of 2025. It's supposed to be directed by Danny Boyle, and it will star Cillian Murphy and Aaron Taylor Johnson. Initially, I didn't have a poster for this movie either, but as I was in the process of making this video, they just released an official poster for it. So there it is right there. Take it all in. Now, taking place after the events of 28 weeks later, the rage virus has returned, and a group of survivors must survive in a world ravaged by hordes of the infected. Not much else has been told about the movie. I also haven't seen either of the first two movies, so I feel like I may have some catching up to do. Zombies aren't really my thing, but given how loved the first two movies are and how anticipated this movie sequel is, I'll definitely be sure to check them out. Up next, we have Megan 2.0, which is slated to be released on June 27th of 2025. It's directed by Gerard Johnstone again, and the cast is supposed to again include Allison Williams and Violet McGraw, who will reprise their roles. There's been no official explanations or descriptions of the plot of the upcoming Megan sequel. So far, all we have to go off of is the fact that it involves the storyline of the first film and how the movie ended. I really loved Megan. I thought it was much more of a thriller, comedy, drama type of movie. Not really horror, and it's not exactly a movie that I really needed a sequel for, but given that I really like Allison Williams and I really liked the blend of humor and horror-ish elements in the first Megan, I'm interested to see what this movie has to offer. All right, moving on to spot number 12, we have The Bride, which is slated to come out on September 26th of 2025. It's going to be directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal. The cast will consist of Penelope Cruz and Christian Bale. Also with this one, there isn't too much to go off of yet, other than that it's a modern Frankenstein retelling from the bride's perspective, exploring themes of identity and revenge. Oh, and it's a musical. Just thought I'd throw that out there now, since people are super divisive over those. I'm not the biggest musical person, and given that there's not a lot of information, there's not too much for me to be excited about, so. Coming in at spot number 13, oh, I just realized this has the same release date as The Bride, September 26, 2025. We have Saw 11, which is slated to be directed by Kevin Grudert The synopsis, again, very scarce details available. I'm sorry, guys. These movies are still, I'm assuming, in post-production or still in production, so. But anyways, in December of 2023, Lionsgate actually announced that a sequel, Saw 11, was scheduled to be released on September 27th of 2024. Producer Oren Coles stated that the upcoming film will possibly be a direct sequel to Saw 10. However, in April of 2024, the release date was changed to September 26th of 2025, with another Lionsgate film, Never Let Go, taking the previous date. With this information and the lack of story details, it's kind of up in the air as to where this movie could even possibly go in terms of direction. I'm curious to see where they go with this one. All right, up next, spot number 14, we have The Black Phone 2, which is slated to be released on October 17th of 2025. It will once again be directed by Scott Derrickson. Now, there aren't any specific details about the plot of The Black Phone 2 yet, but the director of the first movie, Scott Derrickson, has revealed that author Joe Hill has some ideas about what the sequel could entail. In 2022 interview, Scott Derrickson teased that Hill had already had a solid idea for a sequel to The Black Phone, and that the director would be happy to return to bring it to life. In a quote, he says, "Joe Hill pitched me a wonderful idea for a sequel to Black Phone that, if the movie does well, I'm gonna do it. He's got a great idea. I really liked it. Joe's very protective and personal about his material, but he came to me with the idea and I was like, that's how you do a sequel to Black Phone." So while it's unclear exactly what Joe Hill proposed as a sequel to The Black Phone, the story as it stands lends itself to many possibilities. Personally, I wasn't the hugest fan of the first Black Phone, but I still really like Scott Derrickson's direction, so I'll remain optimistic. All right, getting into spot number 15, which is also the last movie that has a confirmed or slated release date. We have Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Which is slated to be released on December 5th of 2025. It'll be once again directed by Emma Tamey. There's barely any info on this one that I could find. Again, I'm not lazy. There's just no details about these movies online. I promise you. Nothing has been revealed about the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 story yet, and there have been very few clues. The ending and mid-credits scene of Five Nights at Freddy's dropped surprisingly few teases about what to expect from the sequel. A few threads were still left unresolved too, such as Vanessa's coma, and her arc in general still just feels somewhat incomplete. I never played the Five Nights at Freddy's games. My boyfriend did though, and he was not a very big fan of the first movie. I thought it was cheesy, campy fun, and I can't wait to see what they bring us in the sequel. To be honest, Josh Hutcherson returning is more than enough of a reason for me to see this movie alone. I'll be waiting for this one. So that was the last movie on our list that has a slated release date. All these other movies on this list have a TBA release date, so obviously that means there's not a planned release date yet, but they're still supposed to come out in 2025 regardless, so there's really no reason they still shouldn't be on the list. With that being said, coming in at spot number 16, we have A Quiet Place 3, which is supposed to be directed by Michael Sarnowski. There are no official details available for A Quiet Place Part 3 story at this time, but Krasinski does have a tentative idea of where the trilogy could go. Emily Blunt has also said that A Quiet Place trilogy has been planned, and it is safe to say that Part 3 will continue to explore how humanity resists the aliens, obviously. Since A Quiet Place Day 1 introduced new wrinkles to the lore as well as new characters, it could be that the threequel could utilize those ideas into the original narrative and maybe even bring things full circle. Or maybe not. Honestly, I hope not. I really did not like A Quiet Place Day 1. I don't really care about the A Quiet Place movies. Coming in at spot 17, we have Thanksgiving 2. So this movie actually just got an update the other day. Before that, there was virtually nothing to go off of, but a few days ago in an interview with IndieWire, Eli Roth opened up about his slasher movie Thanksgiving, turning 1 year old this year, which was based on his fake movie trailer from Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino's Grindhouse. He also teased the upcoming sequel, which was announced shortly after the original opened in theaters. Eli Roth confirmed that the screenplay for the Thanksgiving follow-up was written, once again, by Jeff Randall, and that it would be a proper sequel instead of a prequel with several actors set to return. The filmmaker also shared that the sequel is in soft prep, with plans to begin production at the end of March 2025. While sequels tend to go bigger, Eli Roth revealed that the budget for Thanksgiving 2 will be roughly the same as the original movie, which was made for $15 million. In a quote, he says, "We're upping the ante, but we're not going to do it with more money," he shared. That keeps it tight and lean and mean and forces us to make decisions. There's a lot of setting up that we did in the first one that we don't have to deal with now. It can just be all payoff. Which actually sounds really promising. While plot details for the sequel remain under wraps, Eli Roth did confirm that there would be another epic, no bullshit cat and mouse chase akin to the Kathleen Carver pitchfork sequence from the first movie. He also said, "I've come up with stuff that is going to be a challenge, and I want it to be a challenge to pull off. Because if I've come up with the stuff that I think will make the best kills, then I'm going to do it like I'm never going to make another movie again." Given how the first Thanksgiving initially didn't work for me, but grew on me over time, and how he's been seen talking about this movie, I'm really intrigued to see how the second movie plays out, and I'll be sure to make a follow-up video about this one once we get more details. All right, up next, movie number 18, we have Final Destination Bloodlines. This one is a new installment in the franchise, exploring the twisted ways that death catches up with its victims, and literally all I could find online is that it'll act as a relaunch of the franchise, and supposedly stars that one kid from Chucky the TV show. Speaking of Final Destination, rest in peace Tony Todd. I'm not sure if he's in this one, but I'll keep my fingers crossed. That man's forever a horror legend. I love the Final Destination movies, except for the fourth movie. Fuck the fourth movie. All right, up next, number 19, we have Thread, an Insidious Tale. Very little details once again. The basic plot description of Thread, an Insidious Tale doesn't offer much either, but it does seem to follow the usual Insidious formula. In the film, a married couple enlists the help of a magic spell so that they can travel back in time to prevent the death of their young daughter. While it sounds more like a fantasy than horror at this point, the unnamed couple will no doubt find their way into the further and learn the consequences of dabbling with forces greater than themselves. Though news has since come to a standstill, the development of Thread, an Insidious Tale was first announced in May of 2023 with several cast members attached. The spin-off is the first in the franchise outside the mainline films, and though it's still largely shrouded in mystery, it has begun to take a clearer shape. However, with more than a year passing without any substantial news, it's possible that the spin-off has been put on the back burner as development begins on the announced sixth film in the mainline Insidious franchise, but only time will tell. All right, last 5. We're almost through our list, and it has felt so long. I know that you guys can't tell because of the editing, but my god, this video has been long. Anyways, coming in at spot number 20, we have Pinocchio Unstrung. It's slated to be directed by Rhys Frake Waterfield and is also rumored to star Robert Englund. Back in January of 2024, it was announced that a horror film centered around the titular character from The Adventures of Pinocchio was in development, while it was also revealed that additional characters from other childhood stories would be revealed as part of that twisted childhood universe. Officially titled Pinocchio Unstrung, the first promotional concept art was released with the plot stated to be revealed at a later time. Principal photography took place by November 2024, and the film is expected to be released sometime in mid-2025. I'm so over how many TCU movies are on this list. All right, spot number 21 goes to Keen Spawn, which is a horror-themed expansion of the Spawn universe, introducing new threats and characters. Keen Spawn has long had a release window of 2025, and while there isn't a more specific date yet, producer Jason Blum has consistently reaffirmed that it will be arriving as planned. Blum was quoted on comicbook.com back in September 2023 stating, "2025 is when Spawn is going to come out. I stand by that." Todd McFarlane announced in July 2024 that the movie is now called Keen Spawn, and though several details are still elusive, it suggests that things are finally moving forward. Though nothing has been revealed about the plot of Keen Spawn, the announcement of the movie's full title could definitely be a hint about what's to come. Keen Spawn is an offshoot within the comic franchise that debuted in 2021 with Keen Spawn #1 and has continued into 2024. It runs concurrently with the other Spawn titles, but is noted for its emphasis on darker themes. This could definitely carry over into the movie and could even suggest that Keen Spawn won't be the origin story that many were expecting, but until more details are revealed, we'll just have to wait and see. Spot number 22 goes to a movie called Him. Few details are available, but Him is an upcoming American sports horror film directed by Justin Tipping and written by Zach Akers and Skip Bronke. And there's my lovely Snapchat art for my visual aid, because this one didn't have a poster either. Anyways, it stars Marlon Wayans and Tyreek Withers, produced by Monkey Paw Productions. The film is set to be released theatrically on September 19th of 2025 by Universal Pictures. The plot online reads, an up-and-coming athlete goes to train with a legend who is about to retire. Not much else is available besides that, but given that I mostly know Marlon Wayans from parody movies, I'm curious to see him in a movie with a genre like this. Spot number 23, we have the Puniverse, Monsters Assemble. Basically, this is a crossover featuring twisted versions of beloved characters in a shared horror universe. The Puniverse, also known as the Twisted Childhood Universe. We went over this, I'm not gonna do it again. It's a British film series and shared universe of independent horror slasher films. It was conceived and created by Rhys Frake Waterfield and produced by the filmmakers Jagged Edge Productions film studio. In March of 2024, the franchise's first crossover film was announced with the official title of Puniverse, Monsters Assemble. The plot will reportedly include characters from each of the preceding installments, as the murderous versions of characters from children's fairy tales team up to hunt down the individual survivors of their massacres and seek to take over the world in the process. Such as Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Piglet, Owl, Bambi, Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, Hook, Pinocchio, and the Cricket, while also introducing Rabbit, Sleeping Beauty, the Mad Hatter, and others to the group. What the fuck is the cricket supposed to do? I'm about to get off track. Anyways, Rhys Frake Waterfield will serve as director in addition to producing alongside Scott Chambers. The movie is slated to release in 2025. Not much else to share for now, but yeah. Marvel Cinematic Universe, then the Conjuring Universe, and now the Pooniverse. I can't wait. All right, now spot number 24. We are so close to the end of our list, so close. Spot number 24 goes to the I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel, and I'm not excited about this movie either. This one is still really new and being kept under wraps very well. Very little details. A release date for the new I Know What You Did Last Summer movie has been revealed and is currently scheduled to premiere on July 18th of 2025. Original star Jennifer Love Hewitt is still in talks to reprise her role as Julie, but co-star Freddie Prinze Jr. is already confirmed to return as Ray. Considering Freddie Prinze Jr.'s decision and his enthusiasm about the project, it seems likely that Jennifer Love Hewitt will return too. Brandy, who was in the sequel, has also expressed interest in returning, stating that she just needed them to give her a call. That call has taken place, but it's still unclear if Brandy will return officially. Really hoping she does though, because I loved her character in the sequel. As for the new cast, a recent picture seemingly confirmed Madeline Klein, Chase Sue Wonders, and Sarah Pigeon. Nicholas Alexander Chavez has also been added to the cast, and after watching him in Grotesquerie, I'm particularly excited to see him in this. If you know, you know. Almost nothing is known about what will happen in the new film plot-wise though, but it shouldn't take a rocket scientist to know where this story is probably going. All right, we are at the end of our list. Spot number 25 goes to the movie Hell House LLC Lineage. I'm super excited for this one. I really loved the first Hell House. Skipped the second and third movie because they were bad. And I really enjoyed the Carmichael Manor one. The first and the fourth movie definitely had some really creepy shit in them. Now I know a lot of these have very little to even no details available at all, but this one may be the most scares, which is kind of ironic. There's no plot available online, but there is a teaser, which I already didn't want to watch given how I feel about trailers spoiling everything these days. But it was just a teaser and I wanted to at least give you guys something to go off of. So I checked it out and the teaser consisted of a quote at the beginning from Robert Frost that said, "I dwell in a lonely house I know that vanished many a summer ago." Then there's shots of a forest covered in snow intercut with footage of a merry-go-round, the classic Hell House clowns in a red hallway, and some characters I don't recognize, followed by a shot of an isolated rural church in the middle of a pasture. Love the vibes, didn't spoil anything, and the creepy song we've heard before towards the end was perfect. That's all we have for a trailer, and that's honestly more than enough to get me excited for the fifth film. Since the movie is set within the manor once again, the upcoming film could strengthen the bond between the location and the Abaddon Hotel. While connections between the two have already been made, they could still grow stronger, perhaps offering a deeper explanation to everything that transpired in the trilogy while adding to the franchise's newest location. Since the movies are at their best when providing tense scares and suspenseful build-up, the most important factor of the movie for me will obviously be how well it can deliver its horrifying premise. The new winter setting is perfect and moody. It also means anything could happen, perhaps even acknowledging elements of Hell House LLC's director's cut. With more about the found footage movie likely to be revealed before release, Hell House LLC Lineage seems like it will be the perfect follow-up to the previous movies, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for us. Okay, well, that about wraps up this video. Honestly, I'm not even with it. If you like what you saw, hit the subscribe button. It's always greatly appreciated. I promise you, you have no idea how appreciated it is. And if you just want to go that extra mile, hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any of my new videos. I'm about to dive straight into editing, and I'm not ready for it. For real though, what did you think of this list? Let me know down in the comments below. How does next year's horror lineup look for you? Do you think it's better? Do you think it's worse than what we've had in 2024 and previous years? Personally, I still think that 2022 was one of the best years recently, but that's just my opinion and I'm curious to hear y'all's too. Let me know down below. I would love to discuss. And my channel needs the engagement. Once again, thank you guys so much for all the support. My channel would not have been able to get this far without y'all. I love you guys. Don't forget to like and share, and I'll see you in the next one.